So this is Gujarat Set 2024. This is paper 2, a very important video we are going to see here. Before starting this video, I would like to first of all say my heartfelt thanks to our BADRI YADAV sir from Literary Passion. He is running a group called as Literary Passion. He has been helping the students, multiple in thousands of students, especially in Rajasthan and all over India. So real salute to Badri sir. He has been a great help to me personally as well. So this is this PDF I have received from him, and basically, as you can see here, it is written also Literary Passion. So paying or saying heartfelt thanks to the team of Literary Passion, enthusiasts, and all the mentors related to sir. I would like to start my session here. Okay, so the first question is, which among the following has been called as the semi-wasteland? This is a very important question, that which work has been called as the semi-wasteland, right? So semi-wasteland is basically the Scholar Gypsy. Okay, this work is written, of course, by Matthew Arnold. Is a very important work, and we can see here that it is called as semi-wasteland because thematic elements that resonate with the wasteland. It also explores themes of spiritual desolation, alienation, decline of intellectual and moral values. Okay, so that is there. So explanation is also there. You all can join our Telegram group as well, which link I will share in this video. So you can join that as well. Okay. Who among the following American poets is known for the use of antithesis? Again, a very interesting question. So American poets antithesis, Emily Dickinson is the answer. She is also known for her use of parenthesis, right? Parenthesis is use of brackets. Okay, she used to do that. So antithesis is like placing contrasting ideas side by side to highlight a deeper meaning or a paradox. She frequently uses this technique. Okay, so that is there. Then moving on to question number 3. For explanations, you can find out the PDF in detail. Do not miss that after the session is over. Okay. So then who among the following trench poets? So trench poets, this question is from War Poets, wrote the poem Strange Meeting. So the Strange Meeting, this poem was written by Wilfred Owen. Wilfred Owen is one of the leading war poets of the First World War. Okay, he is known as the greatest war poet, in fact, and he wrote a very important poem called as Strange Meeting. Okay, Wilfred Owen. My subject is war and pity of war. This is his very famous line that he quoted. Okay. Then question number 4 is there. The animal imagery is profusely found in the poetry of. So the animal imagery is profusely found in the poetry of Ted Hughes. Okay, Ted Hughes. That's very important. Ted Hughes is a British poet. We know he was a poet laureate as well, and in his poems like The Hawk in the Rain, The Crow. In fact, he was also the husband of Sylvia Plath, the, you can say, the charismatic, the enigmatic Sylvia Plath. Okay, the great American confessional poetess Sylvia Plath. Okay, so he was the. In fact, there was this controversy also. We know that after the death of Sylvia Plath, Birthday Letters, the controversial work written by uh, Ted Hughes. Okay. The character of Madame Sosostris appears in. So we know the character of Madame Sosostris appears in The Wasteland. She's a character there, and specifically in the fire sermon section, she's a fortune teller. Please do make a note of this. She's a fortune teller. Okay, who is depicted as a fraudulent and somewhat sinister nature. Okay. Then next question is question number 6. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Relatively easy question for us. And who said this? We know that John Keats said this very famous line in his very famous poem, Endymion, written in 1818. The poem reflects Keats' belief in the lasting transcendental value of beauty, both in nature and art. It also suggests that beautiful things provide enduring joy and meaning. That is, of course, true of life challenges. Okay. The next question. Oh, sir, she smiled no doubt whenever I passed her, but who passed without much the same smile? Very, very famous line written by Robert Browning in his famous poem, My Last Duchess. Okay, it's one of the greatest examples of dramatic monologues. Okay, where the Duke speaks about his late wife. He reveals his possessive and controlling nature. Okay, so this poem is also written in heroic couplet. If it is mentioned here, then that's fine. Otherwise, you can write. The poem is written in heroic couplet. Okay, My Last Duchess. Who wrote the unfinished epic Hyperion? Again, question is from John Keats. Wrote Hyperion. So Hyperion is an unfinished epic poem reflecting his fascination with Greek mythology, exploration of Titan's downfall and replacement by the Olympian gods. Okay, so he wanted to emulate the Miltonic grandeur, but due to some reason he could not complete it. Okay, I speak three languages, write in two, and dream in one. Very famous line, written by the great confessional poet of Indian literature in English, Kamla Das. She wrote this poem. Uh, she wrote these lines in an introduction, which is part of her collection Summer in Calcutta in 1965. She discusses themes of identity, language, self-expression, reflecting her struggles. She wrote in Malayalam, English, and Hindi. All right. So moving on, this is again a very important question. How many verses are there in Rabindranath Tagore's Gitanjali, Songs of Offering? So we know that in Gitanjali we have got basically in some of the books when I used to teach, the references vary, and but the correct answer is 108 is the correct answer. Okay, in some of the books it was 103 also. In original, we can say in original composition, it is 158 in Bangla. So 157 songs were there in original Bangla composition, and in English, which was translated in 1912 by Tagore himself, calling this work as transcreation. Okay, in English we have got 108 songs, and he received Nobel Prize for this in the year 1913. Okay. Then in Hamlet, who among the following characters does not die? So which character does not die? We know that Horatio did not die. Um, okay, he continues to survive. Okay, next question is, who is the protagonist in the Jew of Malta? So Barabbas is the protagonist in Jew of Malta. He is again an anti-hero. We know that he has certain anti-hero is a hero with certain vices, right? So the Jew of Malta is a protagonist, and he's a wealthy Jewish merchant whose fortunes are seized by government, leading him to seek revenge. He is portrayed as a cunning and vengeful character, embodying themes of greed, power, and religious hypocrisy. The play explores complex issues of identity, prejudice in a satirical and dramatic manner. The green world in A Midsummer's Night Dream symbolizes, very good question from Shakespeare. So the answer is it symbolizes magic and fantasy. Midsummer's Night Children. Okay, refers to enchanted forest where most of the play's action occurs. So this play is all about magic, fantasy, transformation, contrasting with structured, rule-bound society of Athens. Right. Moving on to next question. The senior lady who is satirized in The Way of the World by William Congreve is Lady Wishfort. Lady Wishfort. Okay. Then we have got next John Dryden's All for Love. So All for Love, John Dryden's All for Love is a heroic tragedy. Okay. 1677, it is a heroic tragedy written in blank verse. Richard Brinsley Sheridan's The School for Scandal has its protagonist as Charles Surface. Now, this is a question coming from The School for Scandal. We know Sheridan is known for his anti-sentimental comedy. Okay, like Goldsmith was the originator of anti-sentimental comedy. Sheridan also wrote anti-sentimental comedy. The two classic plays are The Rivals and The School for Scandal. So the hero of School for Scandal is Charles Surface, and anti-sentimental comedies are also called as laughing comedies. Okay, laughing comedies. In fact, Sheridan was the manager of a very famous theatre company called as Drury Lane Theatre Company, DRURY, Drury Lane Theatre Company, and from there he managed the kind of the taste and the, what should I say, the he decided the taste of the upper class aristocratic English society, especially of the decade of 1770s. So this is also very vital for you to understand that the 1770s decade is known as a decade of anti-sentimental comedy. And Goldsmith was the other fellow who, of course, was the key writer of this genre, right? So moving on to next question, 17th. The witty dialogue in Importance of Being Earnest primarily serves to critique social norms. So the Importance of Being Earnest is actually written by Oscar Wilde, a writer of naughty 90s. Okay, and this is called as again uh, it is called as high class. Actually, it's called as comedy of manners, right? Comedy of manners originally was invented in Restoration age, but still in this age also we see that in as the late 19th century also, Oscar Wilde produced some brilliant satirical witty comedies. Mainly this play, The Importance of Being Earnest. Okay, so that is there. The Birthday Party by Harold Pinter is mainly called as the comedy of menace, right? So the plays of Harold Pinter are called as comedy of menace. They combine what is the theme of comedy of menace: dark humor with sense of threat and tension. So there is an underlying tension, threat. So in that sense, you can say that comedy of menace actually owes its origin to theater of absurd. Okay, so first theater of absurd came, and then of course comedy of manner eventually, you know, took over from there. So question number 19, Carol Churchill's Top Girls is a very important question often asked in net. So Carol Churchill's Top Girls is actually a mix of historical and fictional female characters. So it's a mix of historical and fictional female characters. Right. So this is actually, it's a mixture of historical and fictional female characters, particularly in the opening scene. Okay, so Top Girls. Actually, this Carol Churchill is known for her, writings of post-modern style. Okay, so in her works there is a mixture of fantasy and reality. So do remember that postmodernism means you can write a mixture of fantasy and reality. All right. So moving on to the next question, and that is 20. The Crucible is an allegory of the historical event of the McCarthy trials. So McCarthy trials were a historical event that happened in, of course, America, and it's written by Arthur Miller, I think. Okay, in this question, the explanation that they have given, right? They have given the same explanation, unfortunately. So I think we will correct that. But the thing is that Carol Crucible actually is written by Arthur Miller. Okay, and there is a term called as McCarthyism. Okay, I would request everyone to please do search it, McCarthyism, and write it in comment box, or make a note of it. So it's related to Marxism, I can tell you. So just leaving some hints for you to try and do it on your own. Okay, then question number 21, which critic commented about Pip's progress in Great Expectation as a snob's progress? So Pip's progress in Great Expectation as a snob progress is written by F.R. Lewis. F.R. Lewis. Okay, F.R. Lewis, we know, is a great, you can say, literary critic. And snob's progress. Snob means the one who is very high-handed, the one who has very high attitude or very arrogant kind of person. Okay, so that is there. F.R. Lewis is known as a very important critic from England. He is called as the propounder of liberal humanism. There are many questions asked from this writer F.R. Lewis, especially in early 20th century. Okay, his style of criticism is called as liberal humanism, which is a classic counterpart of new criticism, which is basically an American movement. But F.R. Lewis's liberal humanism is a kind of inspired movement from new criticism, but it is certainly, it is in some ways it is unique. uh, it has certain unique British flavor to it also. So you need to find out the difference between, in this question, difference between liberal humanism and new criticism. Okay. Epigraph of Hardy's test of Ubervillies is derived from as you like it. So what is the epigraph of test of Ubervillies? Okay. Uh-huh. Right. So it is test of the Ubervillies epigraph. Your subtitle is a pure woman, right? So it is derived from, as we have seen, from Shakespeare's As You Like It. Okay. The famous bee and spider allegory. Famous bee and spider allegory is taken from The Battle of the Books, written by Jonathan Swift. Okay. Then Adventures of Huckleberry Finn as the and The Adventures of Tom Sawyer are novels cast in picaresque mode. Picaresque, you know, the misadventures of a rug is called as picaresque. Okay. Sir Walter Scott wrote, her characters are absolutely true to life and all her work has the perfection of a miniature painting. So about whom did he write? He wrote about Jane Austen. So Jane Austen, he's praising her works because of her true to life aspect. That means her works has realism or have realism. Okay, the correct answer this is there. Okay, then John Ruskin's ornate prose style. John Ruskin. So John Ruskin's ornate prose style was followed by Walter Pater. Actually, John Ruskin was a very much pre-Raphaelite kind of poet. Also, his criticism is all about the. He was a art critic, and Walter Pater basically was a critic of aestheticism. Okay, so Walter Pater was has especially aesthetic approach to art and literature. Okay. While Ruskin's prose was rich and descriptive, Pater took it a step further, combining an intense artistic appreciation with a focus on the subjective experience of beauty and culture. So, Pater's style is marked by ornate lyrical quality, which aligns closely with Ruskin's influence. So, you have to remember that Ruskin's prose and Walter Pater's prose have very much things in common. So Children of the Sea, published in USA, is alternative titled as Nigger of the Narcissus. I think Nigger of the Narcissus is written by Joseph Conrad. Yes, Joseph Conrad's novella it is. Okay. It was changed in US. The title was changed because of racial sensitivities. Okay. The Woman in Love is a sequel to very important question often asked by, it's a sequel to Rainbow. Okay. The Rainbow is written by D.H. Lawrence, of course. Then question 29. Which one of the following novels is written by Doris Lessing? So it is written by The Golden Notebook is written by Doris Lessing. It is considered to be one of our most important work. Themes of mental fragmentation, personal identity, political consciousness. The main character is Anna Wolf. Okay. Then The Voyage of Captain Popanilla is based on Jonathan Swift's Gulliver Travel. Identify the author. Edward Bulwer Lytton. So this is a very classic question, a difficult question. So Voyage of Captain Pomanilla is actually it's a kind of what should I say, adaptation of Swift's Gulliver Travel. And who wrote this work? It was by Edward Bulwer Lytton. Now Edward Bulwer Lytton was an early Victorian novelist. Okay, he comes from the group called as Silver Folk Novelist. If you remember my lecture on Victorian novels, silver folk novelists were the novelists who wrote about the upper class aristocratic experiences. There was another fellow called as Benjamin Disraeli. We know later on he went on to become British PM as well. So Benjamin Disraeli and Edward Bulwer Lytton were the part of this group silver folk novelists of early 19th century, which is basically early Victorian age. Okay, 1820s and 1830s, right? Then hagiography, I have told this question multiple times in my class, is centered around the lives of saints. Basically, autobiography of saints is called as hagiography. Who wrote V.S. Naipaul's biography, The World is What It Is? So it was written by Patrick French. So it's a good question, one-liner factual question. Patrick French is the biographer of V.S. Naipaul. The World is What It Is. Okay, Amitav Ghosh, The Living Mountain, is an example of a folk tale. So they are asking questions, many questions from Amitav Ghosh also, right? Samuel Pepys' diaries were written in 17th century, of course, from 1661, okay, to 1669, first decade of Restoration era. Sorry, 1660 to 1669. Okay, so it included the famous event or infamous event rather, Great Fire of London, the plague, political developments, all these things are there. And the story of my experiments with truth has how many sections? So it has 4 sections. Story of my experiments with truth has 4 sections. His early life, his struggles with identity, his work in South Africa, and his leadership in India's independence movement. Okay, Hind Swaraj is written in dialogue mode. Okay, then the Fatwa incident is narrated by Rushdie in Joseph Anton. It is his memoir basically. Okay, memoir, Salman Rushdie's memoir, Joseph Anton, who states nothing can bring you peace but yourself, nothing can bring you peace but the triumph of principles. Henry David Thoreau is one of the American writers of transcendentalism, the writer of Walden. Okay, he is remembered mainly for as a writer of Walden, which basically inspired Gandhi. Walden is a great nature experiment, okay, where Thoreau lived literally 20 years beside a pond in a jungle. Okay, so the book inspired Gandhiji a lot. It's called as a classical book on nature writing. Okay, Thoreau's Walden, right? Got the point? Okay. Niraj C. Chaudhary's Passage to England has a section titled as English Weather. Obviously, Passage to England. Okay. History of Royal Society of London was written by Thomas Pratt. Very important writer. The Royal Society of London is instrumental in launching Galileo and other famous writers. Okay, and it was of course inspired from the early writings of Bacon. Okay, Dominique Lepere is a very important writer. Wrote an appealing account of the sordid squalor of an Indian city. Identify the city, Calcutta, and what is the name? City of Joy. He called it as City of Joy, a very famous book. Do write the name of the novelist, Dominique Lepere. City of Joy. Of course, it was not a City of Joy. It was a satirical title. Lives of cities, poor and marginalized people, focusing on their resilience, hardships they endure. It is both compassionate and deeply human. Okay. Who wrote the poems The Gift of India and An Anthem of Love? Sarojini Naidu. Then who wrote the hard-hitting poem Sita Speak, indicating the injustice meted out to women down the ages? It is written by Meena Kandasamy. So she's a new writer, especially for NET and Poly students. So let's just quickly read about her. It reimagines the voice of Sita, central female character of Ramayana. She portrays Sita as a woman who speaks out against the injustice, oppression, suffering that women have faced throughout history, drawing parallels between her story and the broader experiences of women. It is a critique of patriarchy, highlighting how women's voices have been silenced and marginalized, need for women's empowerment and self-expression. Who is the first playwright in English? Very important question. To be awarded Sahitya Academy Award, we know that Mahesh Dattani, he has been awarded Sahitya Academy in 1998 for his play Tara. I think this is wrongly mentioned here. For his play, I think Final Solution, he is awarded. Uh, he is awarded. Sorry, he is awarded Sahitya Academy. I would request all of you to do check it also. Okay. Then, which Indian poet passed away in the year 2024? So, the great Jayant Mahapatra, the great Udiya poet from Odisha. Okay. Okay. Oh, sorry. Jayant Mahapatra passed away in 2024, 23, sorry. I think yes. So 2024, answer is KK Daruwala. Hmm. KK Daruwala is the answer. Yeah, Jayant Mahapatra passed away in 2023. Okay. KK Daruwala passed away in 2024. Okay. Which of the following novel does not portray the Gandhian age and impact of Gandhi? So, The Dark Room by R.K. Narayan does not portray. So, which novels portray? Inqalab by K.A. Abbas, In Transit by Venu Chitale, and Kanthapura by Raja Rao is, of course, a great example of Gandhian philosophy. Okay. Next is Baumgarten's Bombay is a novel about a German Jew who remains an outsider all his life in his country because he is a Jew and in India he is a Firangi. Who wrote this moving novel? Ruth Pravar Jhabwala. Ruth Pravar Jhabwala. Okay. Ruth Pravar Jhabwala was a British born writer who spent much of her life in India. It's the story of a German Jew. Towards an Aesthetics of Dalit Literature is written by Sharan Kumar Limble. Dalit, many questions they have been asking every time. So the answer is Sharan Kumar Limble. Okay. Next question is her short stories including Kavach and A Childhood Tale, widely read and form part of the curriculum at various Indian universities. She is a prominent Indian Dalit feminist writer. Kavach and A Childhood Tale. Who is she? The answer is Urmila Pawar. Very important. Urmila Pawar's Kavach and A Childhood's Tale. It explores themes of caste discrimination, gender inequality, struggles of Dalit women. Okay. Who is the author of Ashtadhyayi? So Ashtadhyayi is written by Panini, who is known as the father of grammar in Indian aesthetics. Father of grammar, Panini. So it has 8 sections. It is considered to be one of the most important works in linguistics, greatly influenced the study of languages, especially Sanskrit. Okay, and then the concept of displacement in language refers to, so it refers to ability to communicate about things not present in time and space. This topic I have already told you if you remember when I was teaching you structuralism, very important topic. I told you na, the difference between animal communication and human communication. So the same question you can see here. Okay. Next is the directive function of language is used primarily to influence the behavior of others. Of course, directive function. Right. Next question is the in Sassurian linguistics, the signifier refers to the sound or image used to convey meaning. Okay. Question 54. According to B.F. Skinner's behaviorist theory, language learning occurs through imitation, reinforcement, and habit formation. So Skinner's theory is also being asked here. Those who have done B.Ed, they can solve it, this question easily. A major criticism of behaviorist view of language learning is that it does not account for the innate ability to form complex utterances. That is true. In fact, in my poly lectures also I have taught this topic. Behaviorist view of language actually does not count for the innate ability. Na? So that is its criticism. Right. Chomsky's universal grammar is used to explain How children acquire their native language without direct teaching. So universal grammar theory. Chomsky is known as the father of modern linguistics. If you want to write, okay. Chomsky was an American linguist. Okay. 57. According to Jean Piaget, language acquisition is closely linked to cognitive development. That is true. Cognitive development is mental development. Bilingualism is defined as the ability to speak two languages fluently. Okay. Next question is, functionalism in linguistics is concerned with how language is used in real life communication. That is true. Real life communication. If you are studying the aspect of functionalism, it is related to real life communication only. Okay. Then, which of the following best shows a perlocutionary act? It is shown by listener's reaction to a command. So, perlocutionary act is more about the reaction to a command. Okay, so it's not about like what you understand, but what you react to it. Say, for example, you must have seen many times when we say that we are saying to someone in our house in Hindi, we say मैं जा रहा हूँ, or else we say मैं जाऊँ. So sometimes it is actually an assertive statement मैं जाऊँ, but actually what you are trying to ask is that क्या मैं जाऊँ. So the listener responds to it and he says Jao. So that means you have asked a assertive sentence in the form of interrogative, considering that the listener would understand that, and listener also react to that supposedly interrogative sentence, which is not an interrogative. So that is what you call a perlocutionary act. I hope I am able to understand a little bit, to make you all understand a little bit. So this is basically speech act theory. The theory which we are talking about here is speech act theory. So you all can prepare. One question is definitely, it's bound to be asked from there. Okay. Then who coined the expression cultura animi? Cultura animi to mean cultivation of the soul, and this is given by Cicero. Cultura animi, cultivation of the soul or the cultivation of the mind. Roman philosopher and orator Cicero, in his work Tusculan Disputations, to describe the philosophical and intellectual development of a person, emphasizing the importance of education and moral improvement as part of the cultivation of inner self, has become a foundational concept in discussion about the role of education, personal growth, and self-cultivation, context of classical rhetorical and philosophy. Who founded the influential journal New Left Review? So it was founded by Helen Davis, with Helen Davis playing a pivotal role. Left-wing thought. So New Left Review was a major. It's called as, you can write in your notebook. Very important question. This one, precursor of cultural studies. Okay, cultural studies actually bloomed from this movement only. And who was right in the thick of the things? Helen Davis. Okay. There were other fellows like E.P. Thompson, a very important writer, John Savile. Okay, right. Culture studies, next question. As a branch of formal academic study, had its origin in Marxism. We know that. If you don't know, please do make a note of it. This is a very, very important question. That culture studies at its root is deeply influenced from Marxism. And culture studies is a go-to word today in theories, right? So it's influenced from Marxism. Who introduced the concept of hybridity? So it was introduced by Homi Bhabha. Homi Bhabha, a great post-colonial critic who gave multiple neologies in post-colonialism. Then in 1964, culture studies as a formal discipline was inaugurated with the establishment of BCCS, Birmingham Center for Culture, Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies. 1964. The most important question, if you don't know still about 1964, mark it as 5-star question. Okay, definitely going to be repeated in your UK PSC Poly, and also of course in net they have asked multiple times this question. So the foundation movement or the foundation of culture studies was at BCCS. This one, sometimes called as Triple CS or BCCS, Birmingham School for Contemporary School for Center for Cultural Studies, right? Who founded it? The answer is very simple, Richard Hogarth, 1964. Cultural Marxism in Post-War Britain, History, the New Left and Origins of Cultural Studies is written by Dennis Dworkin. So this is again a very important question. Cultural Marxism in Post-War Britain, Dennis Dworkin. Cultural Marxism. Okay. Which among the following is written by Stuart Hall? So the answer is D, that is Doing Cultural Studies, the Story of Sony Walkman. It is one of the defining works of culture studies, how everyday cultural objects like Walkman shape social identity and practices. 1994, Jeffrey Williams conducted an interview titled Questioning Cultural Studies. What is its subtitle? An interview with Paul Willis. Okay, very important question again. Who is Paul Willis? A prominent British sociologist and cultural theorist. In this interview, Willis discusses his work on youth culture, significance of cultural studies as a field. This particular interview delves into the critical perspective on the development and impact of cultural studies in the context of British society. Okay. So remember the name Paul Willis, okay, prominent British sociologist. Counter hegemony refers to, so it refers to cultural practices that resist dominant ideologies. Very good, very important question. Okay, then we have got, according to Plato, literature is twice removed from reality, of course. So very often quoted dictum in our literature parlance. In Aristotle's Poetics, which among the following is considered to be the soul of tragedy? Plot. Okay, often repeated question again. Then we have got Horace's principle of dulce et utile, emphasizes that poetry should entertain and instruct simultaneously. This is a very famous line. Dulce et utile. Dulce means it should do simultaneously, entertain as well as instruct. Okay, so that is there. Then who answered Thomas Campion's attack on rhyme in a defense of rhyme? So it was answered by Samuel Daniel. Okay. Who among the following is a well-known lexicographer? We know Samuel Johnson, 1755, his dictionary. Primary imagination is the basis of all creative activities. Who among the following said that? Of course, S.T. Coleridge. Then in Discipline and Punish, Foucault theorizes the reinforcement of power structure through discipline by prisons. Okay. तो बताते हैं कि पावर स्ट्रक्चर को कैसे रीइंफोर्स करता है. पावर एक नेगेटिव वर्ड है ना, इंटरनलाइजेशन ऑफ अथॉरिटी है ना ये फूको के इसमें. फूको एक बहुत बड़े फ्रेंच स्ट्रक्चरलिस्ट और हम के जानते हैं कि पोस्ट क्लोनियल स्ट्रक्चरलिस्ट एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट हैं. ठीक है, तो इंटरनलाइजेशन ऑफ पावर, डू रिमेंबर दिस फ्रेज, पावर, internalization of you can say subtle ways through which those who are in power they kind of internalize their control over the masses. So very important topic this is for net. Power discourse, all these terms are given by Foucault. Dryden's essay on dramatic poesy, four interlocutors, which basically means speaker or debaters. They represent four different ideologies. Which of them impersonates Dryden's views? Of course, Neander, which means new man. Okay, question number 79. Matthew Arnold's concept for disinterestedness calls for an objective evolution of literature. So B is the answer, right? Question number 80. Who among the following gave the concept of aporia? Very famous, Jacques Derrida. Okay, and then question number 81. Who was the author of the well-wrought urn. Very important book for new criticism. It is written by William Emerson. Okay. 82. Who introduced the theory of dismodernism in disability studies? Dismodernism, Leonard J. Davis. So, what is dismodernism? It is known for this influential work in enforcing normalcy. He critiques traditional concept of normalcy and disability, arguing that our understanding of normal is socially constructed. Dismodernism, developed by Davis, challenges the binary opposition between normal and disabled by advocating for a more inclusive and flexible understanding of human variation. Suggests that modern society's emphasis on functionality and perfection often marginalize those who do not meet these ideals, proposes a new way of thinking that embraces disability as a natural part of human diversity. This concept has broadened the discourse in disability studies and highlights how cultural narratives and societal norms shape the experience of disability. Wonderful explanation. So यहाँ पर this line is very important. He proposes a new way of thinking that embraces disability as a natural part of human diversity. He says that disability is also part of human diversity. It is not a something which is uncommon. It has to be a part of us. Disability has to be a part of us. So it's a very important book in discourse in disability studies. So I think this writer and this book need to be highlighted. Leonard J. Davis, Theory of Dismodernism. Okay, and his very important work, Enforcing Normalcy. Leonard J. Davis. Wonderful. So the only way to get rid of temptation is to yield to it, resist it, and your soul grows sick with longing for the things unlawful. Who said this? Oscar Wilde. Picture of Dorian Gray, very famous line. So which term in Sanskrit means embellishment? So it means alankar. Alankar means decoration, embellishment. Then competence and performance are associated with the theories of Noam Chomsky. Very important terms. Who coined the term collective unconscious? We know Carl Jung, the great follower of Sigmund Freud. Then, what did I.A. Richards mean by synesthesia? So, that is the association of thought and feeling. Synesthesia. Blending of sensory experiences, how feelings and thoughts can be intertwined in the process of understanding a poem. Synesthesia, I have given you one example in terms of figures of speech. Like uh, if you say loud color, so loud is actually your hearing sensation and color is your visual sensation. So you have spoken together loud color. So that means a color which is very bright, which is very kind of, it has a real, very glittering appeal, right? So loud color is an example of synesthesia where two senses merged into one. Okay. Then the work Silent Spring critically engages the problem with biocentrism. What is biocentrism? Rachel Carlson's Silent Spring engages with the problem of biocentrism, focusing on the harmful effects of pesticides. So it's related to environment studies. It emphasizes the inherent value of all living organism ecosystems they inhabit. Okay, advocating for a balanced relationship between human and nature. Identify the one who has examined the narrative constructions of history. Hayden White. Hayden White is known for his work on narrative construction of history, meta history. He gave the very famous term meta history. Please do make a note of this term, meta history. He explored how historians employ narrative structures to create meaning from historical facts. He said that history is not a natural account of event influenced by the ways in which it is narrated. Indian ecofeminist is Vandana Shiva. Then, compelling research question in literary studies is typically characterized by capacity to confirm pre-existing critical consensus. Okay. Oh, sorry. The answer is B. B. It's not. ठीक है ना, तो इसका 91 का आंसर ए नहीं है, इसका आंसर बी है एक्चुअली, क्योंकि बिकॉज बी इज a focused inquiry that facilitates deep textual theoretical analysis. Pre-existing critical consensus to confirm that is never a research, and open-ended structure is also not a research, because open-ended structure, if it is offering too much of multiple interpretation, then it is not closing out the possibilities, and a research should give one proper final you can say interpretation. So too much of interpretation is also not a research question, right? And biographical details, reliance on them is also not a research. It would become too subjective, right? In realm of literary research, a hypothesis functions as a provisional statement subject to critical scrutiny and analysis. So hypothesis is like a tentative assertion, isn't it? We just put that assertion and then we check it. Throughout the research, we keep on checking that hypothesis. Okay, so that is hypothesis. So it's a tentative assertion. Okay. Classification of a text as a primary source in literary studies is contingent upon its originality as the subject of analysis. That is true. That means when we say any text as a primary source, what is the main criteria for deciding that text as a primary source? It is contingent upon, that is depending upon its originality. So if a text is a primary source, what does it mean? It means it is a first hand source. Now what do you mean by first hand source or first hand data? The data that is written directly from the source. Say for example, if I am doing a research on a writer, say for example Ruskin Bond, then whatever Ruskin Bond has written, that is a primary source. And if anyone writes a review of his short stories, that is a secondary source. So primary source is mainly originality. It is not as an authoritative critical interpretation. Does not matter the period in which it was written. Contemporary literary theory, though relevance, the relevance is its originality. Okay, then textual analysis most frequently involves, okay, it mainly involves close reading and interpretation of language, themes, and structure. So close reading. So when we use the word close reading, what do you mean by that in literature or in critical theory? Close reading means trying to form an, this is very important line you can write all of you. Close reading means finding organic unity between form and content of the text. We know that any literature is basically a combination of form, that means the language, and content, that means the subject matter. So if there is an organic unity between what the language is saying and what is being said upon, if there is an organic unity, we will say that, and if we analyze that organic unity, we will say that we are doing the close reading of the text. Basically, it's another name for new criticism only. New criticism is all about avoiding the biographical interpretation and contextual interpretation of the work and focusing on the work itself. As we say, there is nothing outside the text in close reading. Got the point? Okay. So, question 95, comparative research in literary studies typically examines text across different literary traditions, periods, or authors. So basically, in comparative studies, we examine text across different literary traditions, periods, or authors. Okay. I will check about this question, because according to me, 95's question maybe it is limited to text from the same cultural background. Otherwise, what will be the point of comparing if there is nothing common in them? So I keep this question in check. Okay, although we have mentioned C as the answer, but let's see about this question more. Okay. Then 96, theoretical research and literary study involve applying literary theory to interpret text. That is very true. We mainly apply all the literary theories to interpret the text. So that is basically theoretical research in literary studies. Then the primary purpose of a research design in literary studies is to outline a systematic approach to answer a research question. Look, research design is basically nothing but what we say here in our part. Basically, we call this as synopsis, isn't it? Synopsis is called as a blueprint of thesis. So when we say that we have drafted a synopsis, that means we have done the completed the research design. So it's a systematic chapter-wise approach to answer a research question. Basically, it's an outline of the thesis. A comparative literature review is essential because it identifies gaps in the current research and leads to the thesis statement. Sorry, comprehensive. I read it as comparative. Sorry, it is comprehensive literature review because it identifies gaps in the current research and leads to the thesis statement. That is true. So literature review is very, very important. In fact, it is the base of any research, isn't it? It does not focus only on primary source. It helps shape the direction and purpose of the research. Blueprint of research, research is called research design, just like I told you synopsis. And last question is plagiarism in research is copying unscrupulously without citing the source. So plagiarism is when you just keep on copying. Unscrupulously means without without knowledge, and of course without knowledge and also without citing the source. That would be called as plagiarism. Okay, so that is, I think, the answers of the complete 100 questions. I hope you liked it. Keep liking, sharing, subscribing the channel. Thank you.